Good afternoon. Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Excellent. My name is Tracy Freeney, and I am going to be introducing our speaker of the hour. And also, by day, I work for Novartis in their rare renal division. I'm also the president of the National Association of National Sales Network, the DFW chapter. So if you're looking for a community fellowship, especially in the sales area, definitely take a look at our Instagram page. We have some fun, exciting events coming up. So this afternoon's event is going to be recorded for the City of Dallas TV. Whoop, whoop. And then also we're gonna have an opportunity for questions from our fabulous panelists. I just had an opportunity to meet them in the back. You guys are in for a real treat. So sit back and get comfortable. But up first, our moderator, Brittany Johnson, is an Emmy Award-winning journalist and co-anchor of the NBC5 News at 10 p.m. here in Dallas-Fort Worth. She's also a proud HBCU graduate from Howard University and the UC, okay, you can give it up, Howard University, you know, I felt that in the back, yes. And the University of California, Berkeley Graduate School of Journalism. Her reporting has earned her Lone Star Emmy, multiple regional Emmy nominations, recognition from the Associated Press, and the Outstanding Media Coverage Award from the Texas Psychological Association. Beyond the newsroom, Brittany is deeply engaged in her community. She has served as walk chair for Nomni Walks and Nomni North Texas, which is the National Alliance of Mental Illness, and as honorary chair for the Family Fit Fest for the Community Council of Greater Dallas. True to her Girl Scout roots, come on, give it up, former Girl Scouts. She volunteers with Meals on Wheels, donates platelets regularly, and co-sponsors a college scholarship through the Arlington Foundation for Excellence in Education. Brittany is also very passionate about health and wellness. She is an NASM certified personal trainer, and you guys can see it based on those guns. I mean, all women, we love a woman with good arms. A personal trainer and nutrition coach, and founder of Best Life Health Coaching, where she helps people build stronger bodies and healthier lives. She is a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. No, okay, thank you. And the National Association of Black Journalists. Without further ado, your moderator for today's fabulous panel, Brittany Johnson. Please give it up.
Thank you, Tracy. You all know how you feel when they read your bio and you're like, but I appreciate all the shout outs in there because I think I heard some HU in the house, some Howard folks in there, some of my sorority sisters. Everyone, it's an honor to be here with you all today for such an important event right as we begin to kick off October, which is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And we are here because of our city manager. This is something that she really wanted to do, and I'm honored to have an opportunity to invite her to the stage. But first, a little bit about Kimberly Beiser Tolbert, who was appointed Dallas City Manager back in January of 2022, 2025, almost coming up on a year. She was previously Deputy City Manager, Chief of Staff, rejoining the city back in 2017. As city manager of the 9th largest city in the country, she oversees a budget of $5.2 billion and a workforce of more than 13,000 Dallas team members. I know many of you are here and many of you already know about her wonderful accomplishments. So without further ado, a round of applause as we welcome to the stage City Manager Kimberly Beiser Tolbert.
Thank you so much, Brittany. I'm waiting for my walk-up music. Cheryl, I had a song picked out for today. First of all, let me just start by saying thank you to God, who has perfect attendance in my life. I just want to set the atmosphere for us this morning. It is such a pleasure to welcome all of you to City Hall for such an important time to talk, to learn, to engage, and to reflect. And so for me, this is really about reflection because some years ago, I was sitting at work and got the phone call from my mother that this disease was something that we were getting ready to deal with. And thank God that we were able to get through it and we did it together. And my mother is a 15-year breast cancer survivor. I want to begin by thanking each of our employee, team members, community leaders, so many of you who I had an opportunity to meet and greet before we started. And thank you for the team of medical experts who are in the room, who are taking time today to share with us many perspectives around this important topic. Your presence here today speaks volumes about the importance of wellness, awareness, and the power of community. We are gathered during this season that I call a season of purpose. Since 1985, Breast Cancer Awareness Month has been a moment to educate, to promote early detection, and to stand with those who are fighting or have survived this disease. And I know many individuals that are sitting here in the audience today, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I use the word fight. Here in Dallas alone, more than 1,900 new cases of breast cancer are diagnosed every single year. But behind each of those numbers is a name, a family, and a story. And today we are not only honoring those stories, but we are going to equip ourselves with knowledge. And through that knowledge that we learn and we gain from this conversation, we can build better support systems. While breast cancer has historically been among a lot of our women, we know that the numbers continue to rise as well among men and among younger women. Breast cancer rates in women under 50 have begun to rise, growing 2% annually between 2015 and 2019. The numbers remind us that this prevention, conversation, and wellness are not just issues that we need to talk about later in life, but these are issues that we have to talk about right now. It is urgent that we educate young women, young men, families, and individuals in the workplace on how important it is to begin to take better care of themselves. So this conversation is not just about getting the mammograms or the treatments, though both are vital, but it's about making sure that we have the tools that we begin to practice prevention, that we make wellness a priority, and that we take the time and the busyness and the lives that we lead, that we embrace self-care. Now I'm preaching to myself. It's about ensuring that our community, our workplaces, our families are healthier and they're stronger because of the choices that we make together about taking care of ourselves. And so I'm so very proud of our city employee wellness team. Where is Cheryl Mayo Williams? Cheryl, will you raise your hand? Thank you so very much for your work. I'm so pleased to see my godmother, Gaitha Davis. Gaitha, let them see you. Y'all already know who she is, right? We are so honored to have you back at City Hall doing your thing. Today's event underscores our belief that wellness begins at home, and it begins right here within our City of Dallas family. Together with our Civil Service Department, our Human Resources Department, we're making sure that all of our employees have access to resources. We need to make sure that they have resources that they can begin to live well right now. I want to recognize and thank the incredible host organizations and the panel partners who are here. The CV Roman Medical Society, I know that all of you are going to be introduced here shortly. The PAN Foundation, the Novartis Pharmaceuticals, National Sales Network, the Parkland Community Health Plan, the Bridge Breast Network, Visit Dallas, the Komen Foundation, and Blue Cross Blue Shield of Dallas. Can y'all give them a round of applause? And to our dynamic moderator, Brittany Johnson, thank you so much for bringing your energy, bringing your voice, and bringing your passion to today's conversation. This panel was intentionally designed with the realities in mind that we need to ensure that our dialogue reflects the rising advocates, those that we know are here with you today who have something to share. And we also understand how important it is to have those trusted community partners and health partners. So thank you again for your commitment to be here to share with our team. The city of Dallas is not here just to lead this conversation. We're also here to learn. And we're here to ensure that these conversations continue, not just once a year. This live recorded conversation with all of the clinical experts and the advocates will hopefully amplify all of what is shared today and make sure that that knowledge and that information sharing continues. So as we move to the panel discussion, I want to encourage all of you to listen well, to learn, and to empower others around you with this knowledge. Share it with your colleagues. Share it with your family members, your loved ones, and all of those around you. Because wellness is not an individual journey. It is a shared responsibility. And so again, thank you so much for accepting the challenge to be a part of this journey with all of us. We thank you for caring, and we thank you for showing up today to make today truly an outstanding and a memorable event that we can all be proud of. And with that, let's continue to build a healthier Dallas, and let's continue to do the work together. Thank you so very much. Enjoy and come back often. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So important that we give it up for good leaders, because we understand that setting the tone, especially for something like wellness and self-care at our jobs, the places where there's often a lot of stress, a place where we often feel like work has to come first, it is important to have people model that for us and show that they are prioritizing us understanding the resources that we have available to us. So another round of applause for our city manager as we head into the panel. Thank you for creating this space today. Today we are exploring breast cancer through the lens of innovation, early detection, and health equity. And we're honored to have here a survivor, an OBGYN, an internal medicine physician, and a breast cancer surgeon, a breast surgeon here sharing their expertise and their experiences. So I'm going to invite you all to the stage one by one here. If you could join us, and I'll be sharing a little bit about you as you come on stage here. We have... It's okay. Oh, I know, they're ready. They're doing their catwalk for you. And this is going to be a conversation, everyone. We have Kimberly Zeno. She is with Bridge Breast Network. She is our young cancer survivor. We'll be hearing more of her story coming up. We have Dr. Joseph Claiborne. He is with CV Roman Medical Society, a community provider. We're going to hear his insights and expertise as well. We have Dr. Sonia Hughes with Susan G. Komen, and Dr. Yolanda Lawson, Executive Medical Director of Maternal and Infant Health, HCSC. Everyone, a round of applause for our panelists. We're going to dive right in and take some notes just in case we do have a moment for questions and answers, of course, at the end. So I want you to make sure you are prepped and ready. But we're going to begin today, especially sort of taking note from something that the city manager mentioned that is really important, which is what we're seeing with regards to the rise of cases in people who are younger and younger. So, Kimberly, we thank you for being willing to share your story today.
Thank you so much.
I think our AV has us set up pretty good. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Well,
So yes, we'd just love to hear part of your story.
yes, thanks so much for everyone being here today and gathering together. It's so great to see all of the beautiful faces in support of a topic that is so near and dear and so personal to me. So I'm just so grateful to be a part of the panel and just to be here. So just sharing a bit of my story. I've always been a supporter of breast cancer. I have my survivor sister. I was always in support of her. She's a 2-time survivor. And outside of that, I've also been a hair care professional for over 20 years, and I worked in women's health care for over 10 years. So just in both of my experiences as a supporter and also a healthcare professional, I was always learning a lot and just always a part of the fight for breast cancer. My own personal journey started with breast cancer, which turned me into a survivor, was in 2022. That's when it initially started. I was just going about my daily life as a mom. You know, at the time, my teenage daughter was 19. She was on her way into college at Prairie View A&M, and my young, very active son, who was at the time about 6 years old. So just very, very involved in their lives, being a mom, working hard every day, and just taking care of others. In the healthcare field, I'm always pouring out my heart and working for everyone else. Well, just in the midst of life and everything going on, it's like sometimes we forget to care for ourselves. We forget to think about the small things or notice those small things. So I initially, I would say, felt a lump. I won't say I was doing my exams as regularly as I should. I just have to be honest with you guys. I wasn't checking as regularly as I should have, but at the time that I did check, I noticed the lump. And at the time, you know, I'm getting older, and I honestly, I won't say just kind of sat it to the side, but I'm like, okay, you're running into 40, you know, maybe your body is just changing. Everything's gonna start changing when you hit 40, so, you know, that's nothing. And I just continued to go about life. Well, as the few months went on, I noticed that the spot was growing, the lump was growing, and I've always been very petite in frame. So I can honestly say at one point during that time, it's almost like I saw it. It's like I noticed the change. I could almost tell that it was spreading. And at that time, my mind was like, even with, you know, my medical background, I am like, okay, Kim, it's time. It's time for you to take aside some time to go and care for yourself. So initially, I'm like, okay, I'll just wait until I have my Well Women's exam. But with my experience and my knowledge with breast cancer, I'm like, okay, this may be very serious. So initially, I went into Tennyson's Women's Health Center with Dr. Sherry Tennyson, and she has 3 different locations here. She does healthcare, grants, lots of different things. So I went into her, and she did the physical exam, and she was like, yeah, I think this is somewhat of a concern. Let's get you all set up for a mammogram and everything. Well, just being honest, I'm a young mom. You know, I'm working on the means and the income that I have with my children, and they have health care, but I personally didn't have health care at the time, just being honest. So Dr. Sherry Tennyson's clinics, they linked me with the Bridge Breast Network. She's here with Miss Terry Wilson Gray. And so as soon as I met her, I instantly felt a bit of hope, if I should say. So I went in, I met her and her beautiful daughter and her team over at the Bridge Breast Network. They just had a plethora of information about what needs to happen next. You need your mammogram. You need to go ahead and get your biopsy, and we'll find out the results and we'll go from there. So from that point, I did do the mammogram. It was the 3D type of a mammogram, and I went through Solis Imaging, and it was just so much uncertainty that I was feeling at the time, just while waiting on the results. I mean, I'm filled with hope and prayers, and I'm kind of starting to let family and friends kind of know, hey, you guys, this is major. I'm waiting on some results from my mammogram. And again, most people, of course, are going to share hope. Everyone was just so supportive. Okay, just, you know, pray about it. You're going to be okay no matter what happens. That may not be what it is. It may just be breast density or breast tissue growing, you know, all these different things. And I'm wanting to be as positive as I possibly can for everyone else around me. But again, being a medical professional, in the back of my mind, I am like, yeah, Kimberly, this is probably it. You know, this may be breast cancer, just to say it that way. So in the midst of just still working and waiting and everything, I was working and I got a call from the doctor, or I believe the radiologist, over at Solace. And we had a conversation, and of course, you know, just to kind of not rush you into some news of that sort, she kind of told me, okay, the good thing, your left breast, we don't see anything, you're fine, and it's all clear. And then there was the but, you know, but Ms. Zeno, you know, unfortunately, you do have cancer in your right breast, and we need to get you started on treatment very quickly. So again, I mean, the exact same day that I got my diagnosis, I had to leave work. I mean, it's nothing that I could do that would prepare myself. I told myself I was ready. I braced myself for the call. It was days where I even called them like, hey, you guys know anything? Because like I need to know what's going on. So when I finally got that call, I clocked out of work, and I was honestly a mess. It was just tears, just a lot of uncertainty, wondering, you know, what kind is it? Is it really bad? What about my kids? Like, I can't be here for my kids if I'm not here for my kids. You know, I was more concerned about them and their lives, you know, almost than I was for myself, my family, my friends. How am I going to tell everyone? So just in making things short, that very same day, I called Miss Terry over at the Bridge Breast Network, and I was a mess. I could honestly say I was a mess, and just overly emotional. And I went in the exact same day. She's smiling right now. She said, come on in. We'll be here. I want you to come right now. And I went in, and we cried and we talked. But I mean, the amount of information and getting me set up with insurance, getting me set up with the next testing. These are the different types. This is what you may experience. Getting me connected with my doctors, my team over at Medical City Dallas. So Dr. Allison D. Pasquale, she was my breast surgeon. And she explained the type that it was, the DICS, and that it was stage 1, that there is a lot of hope there. And I believe mine is HER2 triple positive breast cancer is what it's called. Yes, so DUG2 carcinoma in situ. So yeah, she explained everything. She drew a picture, and she just mapped it out. She gave me my options. I took a while to think on it. Just at my age, and just all of the things that went along with that, I opted for a double mastectomy with reconstruction. So yeah, she was my surgeon, and I went through with the surgery, and everything went well. I got set up with Dr. Evan Beal.
No, that's a beautiful thing. I think we should.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank
and then
you.
just
Yes.
in closing, I just celebrated, I'm sorry, I didn't want to go all into that. My team at Medical City Dallas, they were great, the Bridge Breast Network, Dr. Sherry Tennyson, and I just celebrated my 3 years in remission on September
blessing,
23rd,
yes.
and I'm cancer-free.
Cancer-free.
So thanks for having me, and thank y'all again. I'm sorry I was so long-winded.
No, this is important stuff. You've been through
Thank
a
you.
lot, and we're grateful because this is how we learn. And so I want to take it to our physicians here because I could see you all nodding. Everyone was nodding. What were some of the things that you heard in Kimberly's story that, based on what you see in your offices, in your work, you really want to impress upon or expand upon for the people who are listening to this about why early detection and being willing to go in and listen to those cues and those signs can be a lifesaver, can be a game changer? I'll go with
I'll
yes,
quickly
Dr. Lawson.
start, and I think probably everybody in this room at some point in your life, some point, doesn't really matter what cancer we're talking about, has heard finding things earlier, right, is beneficial. And so key, what she brought up, you know, whether it's, and we understand how challenging it is to always receive the data between what, you know, the United States Preventive Task Force is saying, should I do a self-exam or not? Majority of times, though, people do feel something on themselves. So regardless, I always encourage my patients to do that breast self-check and make sure if something is different, because you need to know what you normally feel like so you can really detect easily when something and there is a change. But oftentimes, people notice something differently, and that's very important.
Dr. Lawson, how early would you recommend people start doing that, since we're talking about early detection?
Oh, I teach breast self-exams starting at age 18.
18, okay. So
Yeah, right?
telling our
So,
loved ones.
Right, very early on, the examination, right, of oneself is very important.
Awesome, thank you. And Dr. Hughes, hop on in.
The one aspect that resonated with your story is I'm seeing a lot of women in the audience. She thought about her kids. She thought about her job. She thought about this. She thought about that. Oh, no, I'll wait. We always put ourselves last. So this isn't a medical perspective. This is a woman to woman, woman to man perspective. You know, it's great to give to others, but let's not forget about ourselves. And the second thing that you said that resonated with me was that you were connected with a community partner, the Bridge Network. So when you didn't have access, when you finally got the diagnosis, you at least sought out help or someone gave you help. Our community partners are so important because there are instances where people don't have insurance or they're between health plans or don't know where to go. So I think those are the two things that I heard you say that resonated with me the most. And I'm so glad you shared your story because I think storytelling is important as well.
It is, it is. Thank you so much. Dr. Joe, I see that's what you brought on your side. I like that.
I would say from an education standpoint, for the people in the audience who don't know what a mass feels like, if you feel a firm and fixed mass. If it's firm, not moving, not soft, that's a problem. Point blank. Go get checked. That's number one. Number two, as an internist and a primary care doctor, one thing I really try to do in my wellness exams is walk patients through. If we do a test, you get 3 possible results. It's positive, negative, or equivocal or indeterminate. And when it comes to cancer, specifically breast cancer, 1 in 8, I think that's what I saw, women are diagnosed with breast cancer in their life. And of that 8, up to 10%, depending on what study you read, have an inheritable cancer, breast cancer specifically. And so what I try to do even if I'm just ordering a screening, I pause and say, wait, before we order this test, I think really qualifying the risk is very important because you can go in for a normal test and it comes back abnormal. And because of how medicine is, you don't get a chance to ask questions and you think everything is normal. How many times have we heard someone say, I went in for my exam and then boom, diagnosis. And so what I try to get patients to do in those moments as a primary doctor is to say, if this test comes back positive, what will we do? Let's keep it a 50,000 level foot view of what are the possible possibilities of a positive test, 1. 2, what do we do if that test is positive? Where will you go? And then 3, most importantly, if you have a negative test, what do you want to do with those results? Do you want a further test? If so, what does that look like? How much does it cost? Where do you do it at? Because you don't know what you don't know. And unfortunately, you can chat GBT or use whatever Google resources, but eventually you will have to go to a doctor because they do know. Eventually, they will refer you to maybe their colleague, the team that you mentioned. And I think what's really important is to have a relationship with that doctor because that relationship is really what's going to save you. Because if you don't go in early, you don't know, you won't catch it. If you go in early, there's a possibility that you will catch it. And that's what I heard.
I want to kind of stay on that point of the role that your doctor plays, specifically your primary. Let's dive into that a bit. Is this something that your doctor would be able to catch with routine? You're just coming in, you have that relationship without you bringing it to the forefront. How can we stop people from falling through the cracks if it's not on their radar?
Great question. Whenever I ask histories, there are for specifically breast cancer, there's only 3 histories that really matter that makes me say, I gotta do something. Number 1, if you have a first or second degree relative who got breast cancer under 40, you automatically get a extra set of questions, automatically. Number 2, if you have a family member, mother, sister, auntie, or grandmother that you think had colon cancer under 45, you get an extra set of questions. And then number 3, if you had a man in your family have breast cancer, automatically. Those are the 3 questions, or excuse me, and the fourth one is if you've had a mother or aunt or grandmother who's had uterine cancer. Those are the 4 things that automatically says we need to talk about this. Before we go past go, we need a separate appointment for this, separate. Because what we decide to do in that appointment, you need a lot of information. And I don't want to worry you, but it's better, as I tell patients, you can go to someone who rushes you out the door, or you can go to someone who takes the time to elevate your risk and to really dive into it. And then you'd have a mutual decision on what do you want to do with your health. Because I think far too often, we use the excuse, well, nobody told me, but then you go to a physician who does tell you, and you got some problems, because if you decide not to do it, that was on you. It wasn't because you didn't know, and it wasn't because no one told you. It's because you decided it wasn't a priority. And I think that's something you have to have with a trust level with the doctor. Because if you don't trust your doctor, it doesn't matter what treatment I give you, you're not going to do it.
Would you say that, as we've noticed and we've noted that people are busy, it's not a priority, it may be that it's fear? I mean, you had a background, you had some awareness, but there's a lot of fear sometimes involved in finding out what that answer is going to be. How do you help people? Dr. Lawson, you've been jumping to get on in.
No,
yes.
it's okay. We certainly see that. And I would say it's denial too. So we often see from a clinical side, fear and denial. I've had women with cancer I can see coming out of their breast and still will not go to the doctor. Denial, right? Or telling me, or fear of cost. I don't have health insurance. What kind of bills is this going to raise? So we deal with it's complex, all of the types of emotions, and everyone processes this differently. And so that's why it's so important. Have your squad, have your circle. My colleague here just talked about a lot of the community-based organizations do support and fill in that gap. As your doctor, we're trying to walk you through to make sure you get the care and the clinical tests that you need. People's family supports, all of that is different. And so those community-based partners are certainly with the counseling, and I'm looking at the relationship, and you're looking back there, that relationship and that support is invaluable because of fear.
Right. And I just want to congratulate Cheryl Mayo and the city of Dallas for actually having this forum, because education also diminishes fear. And the second thing I'll say, and I'm sure both of you can probably relate to this, just because you're done having babies, ladies, doesn't mean you have to stop having an annual exam. Doesn't mean you have to stop seeing your doctor. I'm sure you've heard it.
He knows this is.
Either one. You should still see a provider every year. But I know that raises several other questions: access, insurance, all of those things. But there are services, there are opportunities, there are ways to still see a provider every year, because that can diminish the fear. And you asked the question about how do you know when to start screening? How do you know to have the screening? For those who have had pregnancies, when you saw your OB regularly, or GYN, or your primary care, at whatever aspect, they would say, okay, even with your kids, this year we're going to do these vaccines, or this year we're going to, it's now time for your whatever. And so at every stage, every year of your life, there's another set of questions. My daughter used to always say, Mom, why do we have to answer all these questions every time I come? I said, because things change every time you come. And so that's the importance of also having that connection with a provider.
May I just real quick? I think the biggest thing I see as a primary is that gap between I'm done having kids and I need to see a doctor, but it's not my OB. You've been going for 5 years, 10 years. And that's one aspect. But the second thing, education, in that second appointment I talked about, I really try to walk through patients the biology of diagnosis as best as I can. I know most people don't have any idea, but they know it's cancer, and they heard some things, but really try to walk through patients and how this came about. I think that's an important aspect of fear, because where did I get it from? Who gave it to me? What did I do?
These are
Right?
questions that you hear
Yeah.
from people, and you were, Kimberly, just kind of saying that's something that came across your mind as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just saying how much I can relate to the conversation of fear, just because, as I mentioned, in the back of my mind, I'm knowing that this could be something very serious, but it's also the fear of finding out that, yes, this is. And I'm like, once I find out, I need to get prepared for the fight of my life. But I can honestly say, I was doing yearly checkups with my OB doctor, not seeing my primary care doctor very often, because I'm like, I'm doing good, everything's fine, I'm good, and then I'll go in and see my OB. But even in the time of seeing her up until my next visit is when this all happens. So it's a lot that can happen in a year, so it's very important to pay attention. And I'm glad that I had the knowledge to kind of notice, hey, this is something that's not normal. My body doesn't usually do this. My breast is not like this. I need to further this and, go and get some care. So yeah, fear kind of had a grip on me as well. Just so much uncertainty will kind of have you a bit nervous.
Yeah, and I think the beauty of storytelling, as I mentioned earlier, is that cancer doesn't always equal death, right? I think that's the one thing people fear. Kimberly shared her story. She found it, she fight of her life, and she's here 3 years later to talk to us about it. So I think education, knowing that, and hearing someone else's story. So if you do happen to get that diagnosis, you don't automatically think mortality. You think, okay, there's hope in this, and what do I need to do now? And so thank you again, Kimberly, for sharing your story.
How do we reframe that? How have you, in your experience, reframed that thought for people who are so concerned from a fear perspective about even getting screened?
So some of that is reassurance. I say this because, when you go to the doctor, right, many women use their OB-GYN as their primary care. Part of that wellness exam is a breast exam. But when you walk in the door, I think all my colleagues would agree here, from the time someone walks in the door, even before you get there, you're usually able to fill out the questionnaires, now through your EHR, right? And so I'm looking at that. I'm prepping for you before you come. But we're assessing risk the entire time. It could be skin, it could be anything that you may not think is nothing, but we think is something. And so reframing this around fear also is the flip. As we just talked about, and you began this conversation, early detection. And so that piece I cannot stress enough. There's not really many medical conditions that if you don't seek care early, your outcomes aren't better and improved. But also, whatever that conversation looks like, that's often an intimate conversation in that exam room that we're having, we're breaking down. And sometimes you may not realize certain things, right? That family history contributor, weight. So I'm sitting here thinking, we should talk about what are the risk factors for breast cancer, right? We've talked about first-degree relatives. First-degree relatives, mothers, sometimes the fourth cousin, that's not significant for us, right? The one thing I would say to this room, because there are so many women here, women typically only think about our mother's side. It is a constant daily conversation. You are half of your father. It is important to know about your grandmother and your aunts on that side. So women come to the table only thinking about the maternal family history. The paternal is equally important. Alcohol, weight, age over 50. About 25% of breast cancers are diagnosed age 75 or later. So age is a risk factor independently. You've heard my colleagues say, women, we all have a 1 in 8 lifetime risk. You're a woman, you're born breast, 1 in 8 lifetime risk. That really hasn't changed since we went to medical school, right? Those are numbers I remember as a medical student. And so when we talk about these risks, it's important to understand, and that's why you're filling out paperwork. That's why we do many of the things. So things you may not think about, we're constantly assessing your risk for all and many conditions, and certainly cancer.
And I'll just say, just another aspect of what you said. We've got the holidays coming up, right? Many of you are going to be with your families. Some generations don't like to talk about their medical history. Find that one relative, you know, that one aunt that's going to tell you everything, even when your mom said don't tell it. Right, exactly. So find that relative, or even have the frank, open conversation with a parent if they're still living. Just say, look, I got to know for myself and for my kids. Tell me exactly what happened when you went to the doctor and I was 8 and you were there for however long. So I think frank conversations are hugely important, because if we're all saying it's so integral to what your outcomes could be, what your risk could be, it's important enough now to know.
I saw someone recently, they were doing their family tree, and that's something that it's fun to do when you get everyone together. You just want to kind of fill in who's who, where do they live, all that kind of stuff. You might throw in some questions like that just to know a little bit more about them and to make sure that you have that history for when you go back to the doctor. Kimberly, you were mentioning that no one in your family.
Yeah, I absolutely wanted to bring that up. I mean, that is a great topic. Breast cancer had never been a topic in my family. No one, from what I know, and when I did discuss it with them, no one on my mom's side, her sisters, anyone. So we've never talked about it. But it's the thing, you're bringing up that paternal side as well. And I've asked a few of them, and either they don't know or no, we never really heard about it. But just saying, that has never, I've been a supporter, but it's never been a big topic in my family. And God rest my mother, but that's something she never really instilled in me a whole lot, because maybe she didn't know, or maybe she didn't think, about the risk, or because she didn't have it. I just never really remember my mom talking to me much about, well, when you get older, or breast cancer, this. It's never been a big topic in my family or friends, if I could be honest. So I was like, this is shocking. Like, why do I
No,
have it?
and that's why
me
and
a
that's
very
exactly why we screen everybody.
Everybody.
Yes, that's why we screen everyone, because you're exactly right.
You're exactly right. And so the disadvantage is certainly with African American families in the U.S., you may not know both sides. Or I often hear grandma died from old age. Well, it's not really such a thing, guys. There's usually a reason. And so many times, or the cancers, they get mixed up, or they call everything ovarian cancer that's gynecologic. So we have these things. So I have a questionnaire, actually, I send my patients home with, and I send them with a homework assignment, because certain things they've just never brought up, certainly with their fathers, understanding his siblings, or people don't know, people lived away. And so a lot of details and family history really certainly gets lost, but it's all important. And the other thing, we talked about the cousins to breast cancer. Women whose father had prostate cancer, you're at higher risk. That is a risk factor. You're not going to manifest prostate cancer, obviously, but the manifestation may be breast. So things like that, contributing that history to me is significant, because as you all watched over this last year, the age and the baseline screening recommendations changed, right? It used to be 40, went up to 50. But certainly, certain populations, we wouldn't abide by that screening. But we have to have that history to support that extra screening or earlier testing getting covered.
Sure. So basically getting your cancer risk across the board
There
and
you
making
go.
sure you have a note, because you don't want to miss anything, especially as science and research evolves. We continue to learn more, and something could mean something, have more significance later. You just talked about sort of the evolution of screenings and age. What about on the breast cancer screening side? What are some of the changes that have happened over time where women in their 20s to 40s should really pay attention, or maybe think, they weren't talking to me before, but they're talking to me now?
What we're starting to see, of course, breast cancer is earlier than 40 in women that are younger. And I think that what's changed is that's what we're continuing to study. We know that everyone's breast cancer journey is an individual one. We know the importance of science. We know the importance of research. At Komen specifically, we have supported research since our inception, and We actually have contributed to 29 of the 30 drugs that are currently being used for breast cancer. And we've learned that there are certain markers on breast cancer. Just the actual biology and science behind the cancer is helping us to not rule out anyone. And it's ongoing. Also, what's important is the participation in clinical trials. I don't want to get too far in the weeds, but clinical trials for those who once diagnosed participating, I think some people have some mental blocks against that because you feel like you're going to be a guinea pig. But in cancer clinical trials, you either get the new medication or the standard medication. No one is a placebo. No one goes without medication. And you have to consent to it, and you can withdraw from the study at any time. But through the clinical trials, we've actually learned new discoveries, new medications, new drugs. And so I think that's one of the changes. As far as people that are younger, I think we have started to encourage women, as Dr. Lawson said, and Dr. Joe, just knowing you're normal, because cancer doesn't know always. So knowing you're normal and seeing something, if you feel something or you see something abnormal, actually seeking care. Don't say, oh, I'm 20, I'm 25, it never happened to me. Talk with the healthcare provider to confirm what you're thinking is correct and move forward in that. Don't just rule it out because you're not a certain age.
May I comment on risk?
Very briefly, because I think we were about to open it up to the floor. Is
Just
that
that
correct?
one brief risk, just
This
one brief-
disparities. Okay.
I think there's from that age from 20 to 40 where there's no guidelines per se for screening. I'm going to assume that you did your homework and you are an average risk. You don't necessarily have a family history and you're just kind of in this way, right? TikTok and healthcare marketing, I think there is a dangerous field where you say, well, what's my risk for breast cancer, right? And the conversation answer is going to come up and say, I need a genetic test. I really want to briefly say this. Before ordering any genetic test, you need to have 3 doctors ready to go. The first is a primary. The second is a geneticist. And the third is a oncologist or something like that. Because the number one question that you want answered is, do I have it? 1, and will it be transferred to my kids? And it's a subtle question. If that test is positive, it changes your entire family. Entire family. Because there are genes that are dominant that will be passed down to every generation. And there are genes that are recessive. And then there are genes that are what are called polymorphic, that have some incomplete, sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. So before you order any genetic test, you need to have 3 doctors and that relationship ready to go. Because if that test is positive, you're gonna have a lot of questions, a lot, and you're probably not gonna get the answers that you want.
Thank you for that. We're going to pivot just a little bit before we get into our audience questions. So remember to take note and get ready because I'm going to open it up to the floor in just a moment. But Dr. Hughes, you mentioned briefly that there's some research, there's some innovation that you're really excited about. I want to make sure that we're talking about the barriers to people accessing some of these, whether it's the new treatments or even just making sure they have access to these doctors. We know that there's research that shows that minority women present with later stage disease. Obviously, perhaps not understanding that family history might be part of it. What are some other systemic factors that drive that late stage detection?
Sure, I'll start, and I'm sure my colleagues want to chime in, and especially Dr. Lutz. Access to care, mistrust of the healthcare system, the system with historical barriers to women of color, providers simply not even offering some women the same test that they offer others, the opportunity to participate in a clinical trial, or the opportunity to even have, before you even diagnose, the opportunity to even have genetic screening. So I think that's one, or many aspects of women of color having a later stage of diagnosis, which can contribute to higher rates of mortality.
Certainly, and so as the data is, just so you all understand, so for the incidence of breast cancer is around 13%. Black women have lower incidence rates than white women. So white women get breast cancer more often than black women. It's just that the reason you hear all the talk around the disparities, black women have higher rates of death. So the mortality rate, while we get breast cancer less frequently, the mortality rate is higher for black women. So that's part of the disparity discussion. The second piece, when you look at the median age of breast cancer, yes, it's older age and you're in the 60s. So for black women, the median age is 60. For a white woman, it's 64. However, when you look at women 40 and younger, younger black women have higher rates. So when we're talking about these disparities, we're talking about the differences. And really that major difference, and much of the advocacy work around at Komen, ACS, American Cancer Society, and others do, is around how do we close this disparity gap? How do we keep black women from dying more frequently, right, than white women counterparts? And then how do we also close the disparities on why are black women sometimes getting it earlier? And so that's where a lot of the research is being done around the genetics around this, those other lifestyle risk factors we talked about, obesity, smoking, alcohol use certainly increases our risk for breast cancer. Being mindful so our communities understand this information is highly, highly important.
And I think it's important to actually say the number, 40% more likely.
42% more likely to die. A
of
black
some-
woman who gets breast cancer
So
than a white woman.
It's pretty, I mean, it's a stark disparity. And so that's one of the reasons and the main reason for the conversation and addressing that disparity, trying to address why that is such a disparity.
And so I feel like it'd be a disservice. So the American Cancer Society has launched a study. It's called the Voices Study, VOICES, and it's around the voices of black women. And this study is attempting to recruit 100,000 black women between the ages of 25 to 55 who have not had cancer, so we can begin to learn more, right, around the cancer that's being diagnosed in black women. So, but Voices Study, write it down, and you can find resources on the American Cancer Society's website.
So something that people can do to participate and to help in this. Let's make a quick bullet point list of other things that people can do, because you all have referenced minimizing your personal risk with those lifestyle factors, but also I want to make sure we leave with some points on how to equip ourselves to perhaps overcome some of those systemic barriers. So you mentioned someone perhaps not offering you the right assessment. What am I going in there and asking for? Like, if I'm curious about this, if I want to make sure that I'm standing up for myself, how do I equip myself? What are the main questions I want to ask? I know I'm going to have my family history, so we're going in there knowing both mom's and dad's side of the family. We've got that. We are teaching ourselves, starting at 18, how to do the assessment, so we have that baseline level of understanding of how our bodies typically feel and what else.
And so it's age dependent.
Age dependent.
So I don't want because I certainly have 25-year-olds coming in for a mammogram. At that age, the breasts are often too dense. There is nobody who recommends in the whole world a mammogram start at age 25. However, sometimes I have a lady who died at age 30 from breast cancer, in her daughter. So we, based upon that history and what the information we have, her daughter has to start screenings 10 years before her mother's death. So this is a young girl who at 15, I'm doing genetic testing. And that was a discussion with her father and me for years about when do we do this? Because there is also a psychological and an emotional impact on you when you know you got a ding and your mother died at 30. So again, that's what we call shared decision making. There is no one right fit for everyone. Everyone's family history, body habits, everything is unique and different. And so the screening, again, I will not make any blanket recommendation here because it is unique to the individual, but mass screening now, the recommendation starts at age 50. However, we often for black women, start your baseline mammogram at age 40, sometimes 35, again, depending on personal risk.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a comment on that. I didn't get a chance to mention I was under 40 when I was diagnosed. So that's what, I'm a very young survivor. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, you all. So I was diagnosed at 39. Never in a million years would I think that I would have breast cancer. So I was 39 when I received my diagnosis, breast cancer under 40. And just really briefly, I now have my young black daughter that I'm raising. She's currently 22. So I think overall, as you were mentioning, I think overall awareness and being more open with those conversations, not being afraid to say, look, this was what my experience. Now I want to grab her by the hand and say, even at your age, let's figure out what we need to start doing to make sure that you're safe, since we know mom got a diagnosis. So yeah, just touching on, I was 39 and I now have a 22-year-old, but in that age gap, we still have to make sure that our young ones understand, they know that this is something that could happen, and I just want her to be very aware and knowledgeable about it. So please, please share with your daughters, your grandkids, you know, just those that are of age enough to understand. Start early, because early detection and awareness is what saved my life, honestly. So yeah,
Thank you.
think
And that's what you're
awareness.
doing by sharing your story with people. You mentioned that no one in your family had talked about it, and you are changing the course there. We want to let everyone know we have a mic right here. Yes, if you want to come and has any questions, we want to open it up to the floor. And while we allow you to get your questions together, Dr. Hughes, you were mentioning some of the work that you all are doing. I would love to hear from you all as we, come on. I want you to hold on to this for the end. What makes you hopeful, optimistic, things that we should think about for the end of this conversation? Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for sharing everything. I just wanted to know, I know we're talking about women today, but do you see men with breast cancer diagnosis?
Yes, 99% of breast cancers are in women, 1% in men, and oftentimes, yes, family history and genetics, but we certainly encourage, especially men who have those types of family history, they also should be doing their examinations, evaluating. Thank you for asking that question.
Two thoughts. How do you challenge those of us who go every year and we don't have a diagnosis to take some of the, I don't know what kind of trial I'm in, but they said there was new machines, and if I would participate, to really suppress my fear of being a guinea pig. And I only get screenings every 2 years while I'm in this program. So how important is that? And then the second thing, with the current presidency we're under, I do have a nonprofit as well where I will pay for screenings for others. How are you challenging other women who can afford it to pay for a breast exam for another woman who can't not afford it?
Can you clarify what machines, are you talking about mammogram machines?
Yeah. I am in that program of you doing it every 2 years for whatever this new machine is. I don't do the races, but I felt like I should be able to do something that could help. So I don't know what it's called. I'm sorry.
I think you mean tomosynthesis?
Yes.
Thank
yes.
you.
Yes. Thank you. See? Yes.
Break it down.
Yes. I do that program because they are always asking us. So I don't do the races or anything with Coleman, but I felt like that was a way that I could give back by making sure that I participated in that program.
Well, I don't think that's a Komen-sponsored study, so I can't speak. Okay, so I can't speak to that specifically, but I'll make a general statement to address the first half of your comment, and it goes into one of the questions you asked. I know we've given you a lot of information, we've driven home a few points, we've glossed over a few points. The most important thing you can do is find a provider that you feel comfortable talking to. If your provider blows you off, you can fire that provider and find another one. Blue Cross Blue Shield is here, so if that's your insurance company, call them and say, I need to know who's in your network and help me find a new provider. If Blue Cross is not your provider or your insurance, go to your insurance directory, find out who else is in your network. That is the most important thing, is to have a relationship where you're comfortable with your provider. There was a person here who told Dr. Lawson, do you remember me? And so yes, we do remember our patients, because I'm sure they had some conversations. And I think regarding the study that you're in, ask questions. Ask those questions, ask those concerns that you have. Talk to your primary care provider about the study that you're in to confirm that with your history, it's okay for you to be in that study once you have those details. And I think that's one way in which we can empower each other and empower ourselves. You asked about how can those that can afford or who do have insurance, how can they help those who do not? I think it's important to, if that's where your passion is, to do your research and find other nonprofits and ask them, how can I help? Or you can certainly call Bridge and call Komen, those that do the work, and say, I want to help. How can I help? Do you need the help? Is there an organization that needs the help? I think now with just our access to the internet and other sources, you can find an organization and interview them just like you would do anyone else and actually contribute to that organization if it resonates with you. And then you asked about this, the current political environment. Advocacy is also important. So say you do have insurance, say you do have access to care, say your insurance covers everything, but you're hearing about certain benefits not being covered. If this gets voted down, people will only get only screening mammograms covered, but not diagnostic. That impacts people. So if you hear different policies or statutes or laws that will impact health care, that's a time to also get involved as an advocate. Call your elected official or research that actual policy and see what you can do to help influence those decisions. And some decisions are made at the state level and not necessarily federal. So just a couple of things to address your question.
Great, thank you. Hi.
Hello, my name is Ellen Stafford. I'm a City of Dallas employee here. And I am too a breast cancer survivor, 15 years this past July. My mother was a 30-year breast cancer survivor. I am also a girl mom. I have 3 beautiful daughters, and in helping to educate them, and I know all of our walks are different, but at what age, knowing that their mother and their grandmother has had breast cancer, what would you say an appropriate age? And I think this is probably something that conversations they should be having with their doctors as well. But what age would you say to start different screenings?
It depends on when you or your mother were diagnosed. And yes, sometimes when I have patients that get diagnosed and they're going to see the oncologist, there's information we get from that tumor that's quite useful for us. I'm usually myself calling the oncologist to make sure I'm making a plan for the daughters and the rest of the family. That's one thing. You have the beauty of having an oncologist. Your oncologist has all the information you need. That question should have been posed to your oncologist 15 years ago. So I encourage you, if you've not had that conversation, do that. Because I don't have a lot of history to make you a recommendation for you or your daughters. That other information that you have, yes, that's the information that should be shared with the family. And I would argue daughters and sons. Mothers who have breast cancer, sons are at risk for colon cancer. So I'm talking about this as a discussion for the family to make everyone healthy, right? And so think of it in that lens. And if nothing else that you leave here today, you expand your knowledge with understand the relationships of one medical condition or cancer to another.
Thank you. I love that. It's so important, too, as we talk about that family tree. Her son, his kids will know that grandma on dad's side, right? And so we can continue just that knowledge. We just have time for one more question.
My name is Terry, and I'm with the Bridge Breast Network.
Yeah. Give it up for Terry.
One of the things I started about 8 years ago was when you have your family reunion, we asked everybody to put in a 15 to 20-minute mini health fair. This gets the dialogue about health issues going. And it took my family a little while to do it. And then they started coming out the woodworks with who had this type. My daughter at 25 was diagnosed with colon cancer. We always said, no, there was no one. When we first did it, we had 3 other family members who had all had colon cancer. This is the type of information that's helpful when you go to see your doctor and you're checking off family history and you write no, no, no. Now with that little health fair component, you will be empowered with more information about your family.
Thank you. That is very, very helpful. Everyone, thank you so much. We are out of time for questions for now, but we are so thankful that you are here and that you have those questions. We have many of the resources. They're going to be here, so you can continue to ask. You've got Susan G. Komen, Blue Cross Blue Shield. You've got the Bridge Network. You can ask those questions. I want to give our panelists each just a quick opportunity to share something you're hopeful for, but also a bit of encouragement that you would leave with our audience members here, something they can do with regards to early detection or education to help someone with regards to breast cancer. I'll start with you, Kimberly.
Yes, thank you. So one thing that I'm just looking forward to going forward is just overall hope itself. Me being a survivor and going through my own personal journey, I know how important hope is. And again, when I went to the Bridge Breast Network, that's where I started feeling a lot of hope about my diagnosis. So I would just like to say I have a lot of hope for the future. I'm just blessed that I'm here and able to attend and advocate and spread awareness and share with others so that maybe my story can touch someone else and save a life. So I am living proof that there is hope and there's life and there's blessings and there's everything after breast cancer. So don't let fear stop you from sharing or getting tested or wanting to know what you need to know, because I'm sitting right here before you, just
Yes, you
living
are.
proof.
And we are so
I'm
grateful.
a survivor.
Kimberly, thank you. Dr. Joe.
I think for me, I hear patients talk about disease. So I'll keep it very brief and broad. There are 6 types of fears that people bring to a doctor. There's a fear of missing out. There's a fear of an enemy. There's a fear of an unknown. There's a fear of an unmet expectation. There's a fear of death or disease or diagnosis. There's a fear of people. And then my favorite one, there's a fear of an enemy. Right? Those are 5 or 6 fears. And I think, talk about blessings. Everyone has a hope of being resurrected in some type of fear. Everyone wants a hope. And so the city manager talked about her mother and her belief in God. And I think when you are faced with something that you had never expected, a path that you never thought that you would walk down, and all those fears come rushing on you, I think when it's up and above your pay grade, basically, that's where you have to have some type of belief in a resurrection. And I'll be honest with you, as a doctor, you see things that you don't expect and diagnoses that you don't, wow, I never saw that coming. But until you have, as doctors, you have to have a belief in a resurrection for your patient. And you can only have that with an honest relationship with who you are in Christ. And I think for me, the only hope that I can really offer persons is this: find a doctor who listens to you, who doesn't rush you out the door, because that extra question that he or she may ask really is the early detection.
Thank you, Dr. Joe. Dr. Hughes.
I would just say I'm hopeful based on the audience here. You've taken the first step. You sacrificed whatever time it was, either something in that email or you drove across town or you're missing out on some of your lunch. You sacrificed a part of your day to get more information. So that makes me hopeful that people like you are still willing to learn more so that they can either help themselves or share the information to also help others. So glad to see you all today. Great audience.
I would just add, I'm hopeful. I see so many partners here. I'm with Blue Cross Blue Shield. We're here. So yes, we want to elevate the health of our members, but we think about community and partnership too. And so much of our work is not only for the people who carry a Blue Cross Blue Shield card, but also how do we uplift the community and make this community healthier? And Parkland being here, and Coleman colleagues, and all of this collaboration. And so just so you know, while we're here together, this collaboration and our partnership extends outside of these walls of City Hall today. And so we all are mutually aligned on improving the community. And it makes me hopeful that we can further and continue to find ways to only partner with the organizations here today, but others that I see represented in the audience. So thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Lawson. And I echo that sentiment. I just want to say that as a journalist, very often we get calls from people that are above our pay grade too. People They need help with their health, finding support with housing. And it means so much to us to have an organization we can call. I know someone who has resources who will help, be happy to answer that question. I want all of you to feel empowered in that same way. So seriously, take down these names. It may not be for you. It may not be for today, but you may be in line next to someone. You may have a colleague, a loved one who mentions they have this diagnosis or they have this question, and you can say, I went to this great event at the city of Dallas, and I met Terry from the Bridge Network, and I think you should give her a call. And that makes you part of the solution and continuing to spread that hope. So, ladies, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here today. Let's give a round of applause to our panelists here. We have Kimberly Zeno, our survivor. We have Dr. Joseph Claiborne. We have Dr. Sonia Hughes and Dr. Yolanda Lawson. Thank you all very, very much. To our panelists, we appreciate you as well. And if we could, welcome over. We have Veronica Moore with Parkland Community Health Plan coming to the stage. Oh, I'm sorry.
Good afternoon, everybody. We, from Parkland Community Health Plan, we just want to thank you for being here today. We're so excited to be a partner on this very important event. So thank you. And as we talked about young women getting breast cancer, we are proud that we're able to take care of some of those moms. We're taking care of moms that are young, like what you're talking about. So we are excited to be here. And thank you guys so much for this opportunity to partner and collaborate.
Thank you. Veronica from Parkland. We also want to thank Gaitha F. Davis, the visionary here of the pink panel, along with Xavier Williams, Mr. Neiman Marcus. You could come to the stage, please.
Wow, that's a tough act to follow, right? Let's give it up for everybody here.
Fantastic.
First, I gotta say this, okay? I am a true fan of Brittany Johnson. First of all, Johnson is my maiden name, okay? But when I grow up, I'm 67 now, but when I grow up and I'm taller and slender, I want to get these Christian Louboutin neutrals like she wears.
They're a gift from my mother.
Okay, have y'all noticed her when she's on the air? She stands so, okay? So, okay, I've got arthritis, so I haven't been able to wear anything but these kind of shoes like this. However, I decided, because I lost 25 pounds, I'm going to go put on my old Christian Louboutin heels, all right?
Yes. Oh, my God.
I put one on and fell over, okay?
All right, we did it.
So I'm going to leave that to you, Brittany, okay? Yeah. All right. So joining me is my dear friend and my personal shopper. Isn't he good looking? Mr. Xavier Williams from Neiman Marcus North Park. Now, his social media handle is Mr. Neiman Marcus. So I'm going to ask Xavier to come real quick and say something, and then we're going to get into what we're here for.
Hello, everybody. I was a little low. Hello, everybody. My name is Xavier Williams. Like she said, I'm a personal stylist at Neiman Marcus North Park. Yes. Okay, cool. It's a little better. Miss Gaitha is a good client and friend. She invites me to every concert there is, every event, and she always welcomes me to be a part of it. So I'm very thankful for this relationship. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Neiman Marcus.
Thank you, Mr. Neiman Marcus. All righty. So, real quick, I'm here because I'm representing the PAN Foundation, Patient Access Network Foundation. So that's my booth, the first one there to my right, maybe to your left. And I want to just plug this, all right? We're out of D.C., okay? And I'm here locally. And so for those of you who, may find out that you need some financial support, and we're big now on clinical trials connecting African American people with those, because there's been for some reason, there's been some, how would you say, distrust. And so see me afterwards if you have an opportunity, and I'll be glad to help you with the connection. All right? Thank you. Now, I also want to plug this, all right? When you do events like this, obviously you have to have some really great leadership. You have to have some people that are strong and really know how to bring it. We had an assembly of just a few people over a 3-week period, meeting for 1 hour each of those weeks. And so I'm going to take this a little bit out of order, all right? But I want to tell you, and I want you to stand, because you stand for greatness, okay? So stand, all right? Some of y'all, I can do better than that.
I'm standing.
Okay?
David told us to stand. I'm getting up.
Okay, so as these beautiful people come, I thought I had a big voice, maybe not. As these beautiful people are called, I want you to know that Mr. Xavier here has bought some, a goodie bag. Thank you, Cheryl. Okay. He has bought something special from Neiman Marcus North Park for each of you. And so, again, I'm going to go a little bit out of order. So I want the first person to come to the stage, Ms. Cheryl Mayo, who works here at the City of Dallas, and she was tasked with this organization and for helping us come together and getting this done in a 3-week period. And so we want to let her know how much we appreciated her leadership. Her being able to just work with me was enough, okay? And with all of the rest of the panel. So let's give it up for Cheryl, please. Now, next, I just told you about Brittany and these Christian Louboutin shoes, okay? So hopefully one day when she gets the next pair, she'll pass those on to me, and I'll put them on my shelf, okay? So, Miss Brittany Johnson. Thank you. All right, so here's my doctor, the best surgeon in the whole wide world, okay? And who says that? D Magazine and a whole lot of other folk, all right? The beautiful, the wonderfully talented Dr. Melanie Hafford, representing the C.W. Roman Medical Society, president. And they have a big event coming up on November the 15th, by the way. Thank you, Dr. Hafford. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I'm really blessed, okay? Thank you, God, all right? This is the first time in my almost 70 years, I'm 67, but I'm going to use the engineer's rule and take it up to 70, that I've ever had a chance to work with my beautiful nieces. And so if Tracy Davis Freeney with Novartis and NSM would come forward, and Miss Veronica Moore with Parkland Health. Okay, give it up. My goodness. I'm gonna tell you, this is a brain trust right here. These girls are phenomenal. And we've collaborated, you know, maybe singularly, Tracy would come or Veronica would come, but never at the same time. So thank you both, all right? And my niece Tracy is very fashion forward too. Y'all probably want to get together, okay? Yes. Her room where all of her clothes and shoes and handbags is like big as this, all right? Okay, now, Miss Terry Wilson Gray, when I called on Terry, I felt like I was getting the band back together. Okay, y'all remember that Blues Brothers thing, collaboration back in the day? The Bridge Breast Network. Thanks to her, I was able to find a really great doctor for my late mother who also got diagnosed with breast cancer, Dr. Sally Knox. And also, the city manager was just here, and Dr. Knox was her mother's doctor as well. And so for those of you who don't know, this lady is an icon in the breast cancer arena when it comes to knowing all the research and the resources and connecting. Thank you, Terry. Dr. Sonia Hughes with the Komen Foundation. Come on. Now, I don't know personally Dr. Sonia Hughes, but after today I do. Okay, so I'll get to come back and say some things. But I will say this, the Komen Foundation is the best, okay? I respect what they do. One time I did get to go out and try to walk. I didn't make it all the way, but I'm gonna tell you what I did. I was slick, okay? This is about 20 years ago. So everybody was looking at me, knowing Miss Gaither won't make it, okay? No way. So guess what I did? I caught a guy going down the street, had a city vehicle. I flagged him down. I said, hey, please take me back to the finish line. So when the rest of them were finished, I had beat them all, okay? But we like what you all do and keep on doing it, okay? Thank you. Only the best in the month ahead. Now, I want to thank some really important people who also came out today, so everyone else can be seated. So as I call your name, you can stand, please. I want to recognize a good friend of mine, former city employee who's, oh, I'm sorry. How did I get out of sorts? Okay, show me where I got off, because I did all of these. Okay, sorry, I didn't have it, but she does. Dr. Yolanda Lawson, please forgive me. You know the Baptists, they say, charge it to my head, not to my heart. Y'all know that one? Okay, I'm glad I remembered it for today. I do apologize, please. And you were just absolutely phenomenal as a panelist, okay? Are you also in ministry?
I'm not.
Okay.
She's about to get you.
But I consider women's health my ministry.
All right, amen, amen. Come on this way.
And I'm
Thank you
glad
so
you don't
much.
have a story for me.
Okay.
That's funny.
Thank you, Cheryl, and thank you, Brittany, too, for that reminder. All right, so as I stated, I have my dear friend, Ms. Monique Smith, who's a retiree from the city of Dallas. Monique, if you'll stand, she brought her lovely mother, Ms. Barbara Sorrells. Want to thank you both for coming out today. I also have, well, Sandra's left already, but I have my cousin, Miss Jewel Shelton here. Stand, Jewel. Jewel's late father was the late Dr. George Shelton Jr., who was one of 4 doctors to break the color barrier here in Dallas at Parkland and St. Paul hospitals. I also have my friend, Miss Doris Edmond here, who's a former city, or a retiree from the city of Dallas. Thank you, Doris. And I tell you, I brought folks in all the way from the beautiful city of Atlanta who have roots here locally. So I have my friend, and she's probably tucked away over there, but she's 6 feet tall, so she can't tuck much. All right, so I have my friend, Miss Pam Morris, and her beautiful mother, dear Marion. Please stand. So if you want to know anything about the BET family of shows, that's the lady. She travels the globe. The Miss Pat show. I want to meet Miss Pat too, by the way, Pam, all right? She does all those shows. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Marion. And then last but not least, I don't think I've ever had this daughter of mine, my oldest daughter, to ever come, and certainly haven't ever had my granddaughter to come to anything that I was a part of when I was here at City Hall. And I am so blessed, and I don't want to cry because I'm not a crier, but I'm so blessed to have my oldest daughter, Dr. Paulette Busby, and my granddaughter, Jade Busby. Now, I'll end this on this note. I want to say this. Xavier works with the high end, all the celebs, you name it. I called him one night about midnight. I'm like, Xavier, you haven't called me. What's going on? Well, I'm at Dak's house. I'm like, Dak Prescott. I'm like, oh, baby, let me go over there the next time you go, okay? Thank you. Off to Brittany.
Yep. And Ms. Gates, she's going to stay with me for just one moment because we all want to just take one more moment to make sure that we thank our survivor, Miss Kimberly Zeno. Kimberly sharing her story today, doing what we know makes a difference for people. As a storyteller, I too just believe in the power of stories. So thank you so much. And thank you to all of our panelists as well. Is our city manager still with us? Okay. So I'll let Cheryl take us out, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much. I know I'm standing between you all and lunch, but first of all, did you all learn something today? These folks are absolutely brilliant. And the visionary, Ms. Gaitha, our city manager, one of the things I just want to reinforce is that we know the city of Dallas, we're not healthcare professionals. So we intentionally partnered with healthcare organizations. This is being recorded. Our employees are watching on DCTV all over the city. So they're able to see, and we're going to provide each of the organizations represented here with a copy of this recording. So they will be able to share the information that you learned here today on their platforms, because we just wanted to make sure it was available. And this was the vision of our Dallas City Manager, Kimberly Beiser Tolbert. I also just want to make sure you heard the city manager mention the staff, and I don't want to end this program because they may be watching, but there were so many that came together to make this happen. So I've got a list of names. I will go fast, and then we will grab lunch. Nicole Arrington, Ahmad Goree, Jaquarius Jackson, Reginald Jackson, Sonia Batts, Daisy Fast, Stuart King. I also want to make sure to recognize our technology team led by Carla Hancox, Nina Adrias, our Director of HR, Tommy Mullis, Catherine Lee, Tamika Arrington, Felice Stafford, Susanna Garcia, Adrian Quickly, Jose Guerrera, Christian Adams, Imani Wicks, Kevin Belker, Tawana Henderson. I know it was a lot of names, but I just try to make sure that we recognize people who take time from their day jobs to help make these types of things possible. Okay.
Does my mic still work?
Yes, ma'am.
Because I just want to make sure we take another moment. We had one lone gentleman
to
really share so many important insights with us today. So we want to make sure to shout out Dr. Joseph Claiborne as well, to thank him. And it's important, even when we have a subject like this, there are men in our lives, right? We have husbands and brothers and people who care about us. You can bring them along because they too can take information back to support the women in their lives who are either survivors or perhaps one day might need to go and get screened for breast cancer. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so those of you who are on site, lunch is served. If you are in the building, City of Dallas employees, you are welcome to come down and grab lunch. And under your seat, you have